He was in a navy suit. Of course, he was same color as the duffel bag, same color as the dress shirts I'd found, because Marcus, whatever else he was, had always had good taste and consistent aesthetics. He had a mask on, simple black, and he looked handsome and at ease, and he had a glass of champagne and Bridget was next to him in a gold dress. I watched them for a while from the far end of the deck. There was nothing dramatic happening. They weren't making a scene. They were just a couple at a party, comfortable, easy. He whispered something in her ear and she laughed. And he reached out and tucked a piece of her hair behind her ear, and it was gentle. He was gentle with her, the way he used to be with me. The way I thought was just who he was. I looked at my phone. 8:47 p.m. 13 minutes. I found Dana at the bar. She handed me a glass of water, not wine. Smart, she said. I'm going to go stand where he can see me, I said. Before it starts. I want him to see me. Are you sure? Yes. I crossed the deck. I walked through the crowd and I positioned myself about 30 feet from where Marcus and Bridget were standing. In his sight line. Not close. Not confrontationally close. Just visible dot, and then I waited. He saw me at 8:53. I watched it happen. His gaze went across the crowd and landed on me, and for a second, maybe 2 seconds, nothing moved on his face. And then it did. Something shifted. His eyes focused. His expression changed. He knew. He didn't know how. He didn't know why. But he knew. I held eye contact for a long moment. Didn't wave. Didn't smile. Just looked at him. Then I looked at my phone. 8:58. I looked at the DJ and nodded once at 9 p.m. The music faded mid-song. People noticed. You notice when music cuts? The crowd sort of shifted, murmuring. And a few people looked toward the bar where the screen was mounted. Because screens usually mean something. Our wedding photo came up first, 9 years ago. White dress. His hand on my face. Both of us laughing because my aunt had just done something ridiculous in the background. And we were the only two people who could see it. I remembered that moment. I remembered laughing and thinking, this is it. This is the best day of my life. The crowd didn't know what they were looking at yet. A few people were smiling. A couple leaned into each other. Someone nearby said, is this a vow renewal? Then the second image came up. Cole's message. White text on a phone screen. She doesn't know either. We're good. This is going to be perfect. The murmuring changed. Then the third image. Marcus and Bridget. Terminal, his hand on her waist. Both of them laughing. The crowd went quiet in this specific way that crowds do. It's when they understand they're witnessing something real. Not a show. Not a planned bit. Something that is actually happening. And then I walked forward. I didn't shove through. I didn't storm. I just walked the way you walk when you've decided something and there's nothing left to be. Nervous about through the space, the crowd opened for me. Until I was standing in front of my husband, he'd taken his mask off. He was just standing there holding his champagne and his face. I'm going to remember his face for the rest of my life. It was the face of a man who is watching something happen that he has no power to stop. All the confidence gone. Just exposed. Bridget took a small step back. I looked at Marcus. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. My voice was completely steady, which surprised me, honestly, right up until the moment it happened. And I said, loud enough for the people around us to hear, 9 years, Marcus. 9 years. The house, the dog, the 2 years of trying to have a baby. All of it. I built a life with you. And you packed a bag full of lies and got on this ship. You said my name? Just my name, like a question. My lawyer already has everything, I said. The messages, the footage, the booking. She has all of it. So this isn't a conversation. I'm not here to fight. I just wanted to look at you and say it out loud. I paused. You didn't outsmart me. You just counted on me being too scared to look. I turned around and I walked back to Dana. Behind me, I heard the crowd. Some murmuring. A woman somewhere said, "Oh my God." Someone started clapping, just one person at first, then a few more. I didn't turn around. I heard Marcus say something. I didn't listen to what it was. Dana had my water glass ready. She pressed it into my hand. "That was incredible," she said quietly. "Did it feel like I was shaking?" I asked visibly. She said, "But in a powerful way." He knocked on our cabin door at 10:30. I lay in my bunk and listened to him knock and did not move. He called my phone. Once, twice, 6 times. I watched the calls come in and declined them one by one and sent each one to voicemail. At some point, Dana offered to answer and say something colorful, and I told her to leave it at midnight. I text *, "We need to talk, please. This isn't what you think." Asterisk, I screenshot that too. Sent it to Patricia. The next morning, Dana and I ate breakfast in the ship's casual dining room on Deck 3 like normal people. I had eggs and fruit and 2 cups of coffee. I was somehow starving. Turns out your body still needs food even when your marriage is ending. We didn't see Marcus until disembarkation. The ship docked in Port Canaveral under completely perfect blue skies and warm air, which felt somewhat insulting given the circumstances. He was waiting near the terminal exit. Alone, no sign of Bridget or Cole. He looked like he hadn't slept, which, honestly, same. He stepped toward me when he saw me. "Can we just talk? For 5 minutes, please." Dana started to move and I put a hand on her arm. She stopped. I looked at Marcus. "No," I said. "We can't. I know I have no right to ask for Marcus." Said it quietly. "Don't." He stopped. "I have been carrying this since Thursday," I said. "I found the condoms in your bag. I read Cole's messages. I got on this ship because I needed to know if I was wrong." I paused. "I wasn't wrong." He looked down. "Anything you want to say to me goes through Patricia," I said. "You have her number." And I walked past him into the terminal and out into the sunshine. And I didn't look back. I'm not going to tell you the next few months were fine. They weren't. I cried for weeks. I cried in the shower, in the car, in the Target parking lot twice, for the record. Not 3 times like I told Dana. I cried when I found his flannel shirt in the laundry. I cried when Pretzel waited by the door for him for about a week. Because dogs do that. They don't know what happened. They just know someone's missing. That one wrecked me more than almost anything else. I missed him. I want to be honest about that, because I think the stories about betrayal always make it sound like the moment you find out, the love just evaporates. It doesn't. It gets complicated and tangled up with the grief of what you thought you had. I was angry and I was devastated and I still missed him, and all 3 of those things existed at the same time, and it was the messiest I have ever felt in my life. But here's what I also had. A lawyer who was very good at her job. Patricia filed within a week of our return. Marcus tried to negotiate, asked if I wanted to do mediation, asked if I wanted to talk, asked if there was a path forward. Through Patricia, I said no to all of it. Not because I was punishing him, because there was nothing to negotiate. He'd made his choices. I was making mine. The house was split. I kept Pretzel. The settlement was fair. Patricia made sure of that. Bridget, as far as I know, went back to her own life and her own situation, which was not my problem. Cole was not my problem. The social media exposure, because yes, some people from the ship posted, it circulated. It found its way to people who knew us, was not something I'd planned on. But it also wasn't something I spent time managing. People were going to know what they were going to know. Marcus moved into an apartment. We exchanged maybe 6 texts over the following 3 months, all practical. He apologized once, a real apology, I think. Not a defensive one, and I read it and I set my phone down and I felt it land and then moved on with my day, because here's what I learned from all of it. The hardest part of being betrayed isn't the finding out. It's the part before the finding out. The months of telling yourself you're overreacting, of swallowing your instincts to keep the peace, of being a trusting partner when your gut is saying, look closer. I spent 3 months doing that. 3 months of my life choosing comfort over clarity. Never again. If there's one thing I want you to take from this, one thing, It's that your gut is not paranoia. Your gut is not insecurity. Your gut is data. It has been watching things your conscious brain is too loyal to process. And it will tell you the truth before you're ready to hear it. Be ready. You don't have to turn into someone who goes through phones at midnight and books herself on the same cruise as her cheating husband. But you are allowed to take yourself seriously. You are allowed to trust what you feel. You are allowed to ask the hard questions before the evidence is so undeniable. You can't pretend anymore. You deserved the truth. You always did. I'm good now. I'm genuinely actually good. Not in the way where you say it because you're supposed to say it, but in the way where you wake up on a Saturday morning and Pretzel is asleep at the foot of your bed and the apartment is yours and you make coffee and sit in the window and you feel, for the first time in a long time, like everything in the room belongs to you. That feeling, that's what's on the other side. I watched my husband kiss another woman on the main deck of a cruise ship, and I had the whole thing on video before he even turned around. Asterisk. Let me take you back to where this started. Because it didn't start on a ship. It started in our kitchen on a Tuesday night. And if I'm being honest with you, really honest, it started even before that. It started with a feeling I kept talking myself out of for about 3 months. You know that feeling? When something is off, but you can't name it. When your gut is basically screaming at you and everyone around you, including yourself, is telling you to calm down. You're being paranoid. You've always been a little anxious. Yeah. That feeling, I should have listened to it way sooner, but I didn't. And this is that story. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I was 34 years old, 9 years married, living in a nice house in Raleigh, North Carolina, with a man I thought I knew better than I knew myself. His name was Marcus. And look, Marcus wasn't a bad husband. That's the thing that made all of this so confusing for so long. He wasn't mean. He wasn't cold. He wasn't one of those husbands you hear about who stops trying the second the ring goes on. He still texted me memes in the middle of the afternoon. He still reached for my hand in movie theaters. He still remembered that I hated cilantro and picked it off my plate at restaurants without me asking. For 9 years, he was present. That's the word I keep coming back to, present. So when things started to shift, I genuinely didn't know what to do with it. It was subtle at first, like embarrassingly subtle. The kind of stuff that if I told my mom about it, she'd tell me I was being ridiculous. He started working out again. Not because I pushed him or mentioned it. Just started going. Coming home smelling like he'd actually tried at the gym, which, fine, that's a good thing, right? Except then came the new clothes. Not athleisure. Not hoodies and basketball shorts. Nice clothes. Button-downs he'd actually iron. New jeans that fit right. Cologne he only used to wear on date nights. And I noticed, of course I noticed. But I also told myself, people go through phases. People reinvent themselves. Maybe he's just feeling good. Maybe this is good. I told myself that. For about 6 weeks, then came the phone thing. Marcus had never been precious about his phone. For 9 years, his phone sat on the kitchen counter, face up, screen visible, unlocked half the time. I never felt the need to snoop because there was never anything that felt like it needed snooping. We were those people. Boring, trusting, good. So when he started keeping it face down all the time, every room, I noticed. When he started taking it to the bathroom, when he started laughing at something on the screen, and then, if I walked over, angling it away just slightly, just enough that I couldn't quite see, I noticed I didn't say anything. I told myself I was being paranoid. I had done this before, 2 years earlier, convinced myself something was off, accused him of lying about a work dinner, felt terrible about it for weeks after he proved I was wrong. So I was not going to do that again. I was going to be a trusting partner. This is what I kept telling myself. Asterisk, you trust him. You chose him. Stop manufacturing problems. And then he told me about the trip. A guy's fishing weekend got him. And 3 guys from his old college crew, Derek, Finn, and somebody named Cole that I'd apparently been hearing about for years, but had somehow never met in person. For days, a rental cabin in the Outer Banks. No cell service, just fishing and beer and whatever it is men do when they disappear into the woods together. Sounds fun, I said, and I meant it. Genuinely, I'm not a clingy wife. I don't need him attached to me every weekend. I have my own friends, my own life. A long weekend to myself, reading wine. Not cooking anything with more than 4 ingredients actually sounded kind of amazing, so I smiled. I told him to have a good time. I helped him dig his old fishing vest out of the hall closet. He started packing Thursday night. I was in the living room folding laundry and watching something on Netflix and half paying attention, just existing. Just being a normal person in our house on a normal evening. And then I heard the zipper on his big navy duffel bag. The duffel. The one he only uses for multi-day trips. I heard him unzip it in the bedroom. And something just, I don't know how to explain this to anyone in a way that makes sense. Something moved my feet. Not a thought. Not a decision. Just this low, quiet pull. Like a wire connected to something in my stomach and someone tugged it. I walked down the hall. The bag was on the bed. Half packed. He was in the bathroom with the door open, brushing his teeth, humming something. I could hear the water running. I looked at the bag. Cologne, the good one. The one that lives in the back of the medicine cabinet because it's too expensive. For everyday use, and it's only for date nights or Christmas. It was on top, rolled in a shirt, and under that dress shirts. Actual dress shirts folded the way you fold things you care about. Not fishing flannels. Not the worn-out Patagonia stuff he wears when we go camping. Dress shirts, a silk pocket square. I stood there and I looked at it. My brain was doing that thing where you're staring at something that doesn't make sense and you keep trying to find the innocent explanation. The fishing trip explanation. Because maybe these guys were going somewhere nice after. Maybe there was a dinner. Maybe I was wrong about what I was seeing. And then I moved the shirts, underneath wrapped in a pair of rolled socks like he was hiding it. A box. Still in the plastic pharmacy bag. Still sealed. Condoms. I picked it up. Stared at it. We don't use condoms. We haven't used condoms in 7 years. We're married. We tried to have a baby for 2 years before the doctors told us it would be complicated. And even after that, even in all of that grief, condoms were never part of our life. There was no version of a 4-day, guys. Fishing trip where Marcus needed a box of condoms. I put it back, exactly where I found it. Under the socks, in the plastic bag, like nothing. I walked to the kitchen, sat down at the table, stared at the wall. By the time Marcus came out of the bathroom asking if I'd seen his good rain jacket, I had already made a decision. I just hadn't told myself what it was yet. Closet, I said. Behind your hiking stuff? Thanks, babe. And he walked right past me and I sat there, with my whole life rearranging itself behind my eyes. Asterisk, that night I waited until he was asleep, which I want to say this. I had never done before. Never. I am not someone who goes through phones. I always thought if you're at the point where you need to do that, you already know what you're going to find, so just have the conversation. Skip the humiliation of the snooping. But I wasn't ready to have a conversation. Not yet. Not without knowing what I was walking into. I reached over him and I picked up his phone off the nightstand. He'd set a new passcode. That was new, but his iPad was still on the kitchen counter and we shared it for streaming. And I knew his Apple ID password because I'd set up the account for him 3 years ago. And thanks to iCloud syncing his messages loaded in about 4 seconds. I sat on the bathroom floor with the iPad balanced on my knees. The light was off. I had the brightness turned all the way down. And I read the messages with someone named Cole weren't about fishing. They were about a cruise. A 4-day cruise leaving out of Port Canaveral, which, by the way, is a 6-hour drive from Raleigh. Not a drive to the Outer Banks. 2 cabins. Booked under different names. A private credit card I didn't have access to. And then Cole. This Cole I'd supposedly heard so much about but never met, had sent Marcus a message that said, asterisk, she doesn't know either. We're good. This is going to be perfect. Asterisk, asterisk, she doesn't know either. Asterisk, I read it 3 times, 4 times, 5. She doesn't know either. There was a woman, and she had a husband or partner. who also didn't know. This wasn't just Marcus. This was planned, coordinated, 2 men and 2 women on a cruise. While their partners sat at home believing whatever lie they'd been told, I sat on that bathroom floor for I don't know how long. My legs went numb and I didn't even notice. I just kept scrolling, reading, trying to understand the full shape of it. Her name came up in pieces. He called her by a nickname at first. Then I found an older message where he slipped and used her full first name, Bridget. I had no idea who Bridget was. I scanned every memory I had of Marcus's life, and I could not place a single Bridget. I put the iPad on the edge of the tub, put my head back against the cabinet, closed my eyes. My first thought, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, was, maybe there's an explanation. Maybe it's a work thing. Maybe she doesn't know either means something else. Maybe no, stop. There was no explanation. I knew that. I'd known it since the condoms. I was just scared. That's what that was. Not stupidity, fear, because as long as I didn't fully accept it, I could still be in a marriage. As soon as I accepted it, I was something else. I was a woman whose husband was on a cruise with another woman while she sat on the bathroom floor at 1 a.m. Lo, and I got up, washed my face, went back to bed, and I lay next to him in the dark and I thought, okay? You are not going to cry. You are not going to confront him. You are going to think. I was up until 4 a.m. thinking. By morning, I had a plan. I called my friend Dana at 7 a.m. Dana is the person you want in your corner during a crisis, not because she's warm and soothing, but because she is cold and clear. She does not panic. She does not monologue about what you should feel. She says, "What do you want to do, and how do we do it?" I told her everything. The condoms, the iPad, Cole's message, Bridget. She listened without interrupting. "What do you want?" She said. "I want proof. Real proof. Before I blow up my life." Okay, so what's his timeline? He leaves Friday. Silence for a second. Then, get on the ship. Get on the ship. Solo booking. Different deck. He'll never know you're there until you're ready for him to know. I told her she was insane. She told me she'd come with me. I looked up the cruise while she was still talking. Norwegian Sun, Port Canaveral, for days. Departing Friday morning. Interior cabin, deck 3, available. I booked it with the joint checking account. And I didn't feel 1 second of guilt. Marcus left Friday morning. He kissed me goodbye at the door. He said he'd text when he got to the cabin. He said he loved me. He had his navy duffel over one shoulder, and I stood on the porch and watched him back out of the driveway, and I thought, I have never looked at a person and known something they don't know I know. It felt like watching from behind glass. He drove away. I went back inside, finished packing my own bag. Dana picked me up at noon. We flew into Orlando Friday morning. Uber to the port. Standing in the terminal boarding line at 11 a.m. with sunglasses on and a hat pulled down, which in hindsight was slightly dramatic. But also I was not ready to run into Marcus before I was ready. We boarded 2 hours after his check-in window. I spotted him from the terminal cafe window. He was standing with a woman, dark hair, a white sundress, luggage that matched her earrings, which was a detail that made me feel weirdly like I needed to sit down, and they were laughing. They were comfortable with each other. That's what hit me. Not the touching, not the body language. The comfort. The ease. Like this wasn't new. Dana put a hand on my arm without saying anything. I took 17 photos through the cafe window before they made it to the gangplank. "'Kay," she said. "Let's go." We had a cabin on deck 3. Marcus was on deck 8. I knew this because his iCloud location sharing was still on. We'd turned it on together 2 years ago for a hiking trip, and neither of us had turned it off. Because that's how it is in a marriage. You do something together and then you just leave it running and forget about it. And his blue dot was living on deck 8, moving around, happy as anything. That first afternoon, we stayed on deck 3, went to the pool area on our own end of the ship, ordered drinks, sat in the sun. Dana ate chips. I ate nothing and pretended I wasn't nauseous. "You're allowed to cry," Dana said at one point. "I know," I said. "I will. Later." That first night, I lay in my bunk, bottom bunk. Dana had the top, and I stared at the ceiling while the ship rocked gently and thought about 9 years. All of it. The apartment we'd moved into together, the dog we'd rescued, the 2 years of trying to have a baby, the grief of that. The way Marcus held me after the second failed round and said, "I'm not going anywhere. It's just us, and that's enough." I thought about all of it, and I thought about Bridget with her matching luggage. 8 floors above me, I didn't sleep. Day 2. I was a different person. I don't know how else to put it. Somewhere between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., I crossed a line inside myself. I stopped being a wife in shock and started being something else. Something colder, clearer. I had my phone. I had his iCloud location. I had 17 photos from the terminal. I had screenshots of Cole's messages. And Dana had a pair of sunglasses with a built-in camera that she'd bought as a joke 2 Christmases ago and had never once used. Which, honestly, thank God for impractical novelty gifts. We did not approach them. We did not interact with them. We were, to everyone on that ship, just 2 friends on a vacation, but by 2 p.m. on day 2. I had footage of Marcus with his hand on Bridget's lower back at the adults-only pool. I had a clear shot of them at lunch, sitting across from each other, her hand on the table and his hand on top of hers. I had audio, real audio of a conversation at the pool bar where he told her this was the best decision he'd ever made. The best decision he'd ever made. I sat in the deck chair 20 feet away with my hat down and my sunglasses on. And I listened to my husband say that to another woman. And I breathed through it the way they teach you in those yoga classes that I always thought were overhyped until suddenly I was using the breathing. Dana came back from the bar and handed me a drink and said, "Did you get it?" "Got it," I said. "Good. What do you want to do with it?" And that's when I started to understand. I didn't just want to have proof. I didn't just want to wave it in his face in private, have the breakdown, negotiate the divorce in a lawyer's office. That wasn't enough. Not for this. Because this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-night thing he was panicking over and trying to undo. This was planned, coordinated. For days, another city, a whole other man's wife. He had looked at me in my own kitchen and kissed me goodbye and lied. And it hadn't even flickered on his face. That deserved something bigger than a private conversation. I needed to think about what, exactly. Day 3. Late afternoon, I was sitting on the deck outside our cabin, reading a book I wasn't actually reading when my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Hey babe. No cell service is spotty, lol. Miss you. How's everything at home?" The dog emoji. Because of our dog. Pretzel. I read it twice. He was 50 feet away from me, or close to it, on the same ship at the same moment, lying about where he was and asking about our dog. I don't know why that was the thing that finally made me cry. After everything I'd seen, everything I'd heard, the condoms, the messages, the footage, Bridget's matching luggage, it was the stupid dog emoji that broke me. Because it was so normal. It was so exactly what a husband texts his wife. And he did it while sitting somewhere on the ship with another woman, and it was just effortless for him. Completely effortless. I went into the cabin, closed the door, sat on the floor. Dana came in 5 minutes later and found me like that. And sat down next to me on the floor without saying anything. Which is why she is my best friend. And has been for 15 years. We sat there for a while, then she said, "What do you want to do tonight?" I wiped my face. I thought about the masquerade ball. I'd seen it on the schedule when we boarded. Day 3, main deck, formal dress, masks, 8 p.m. "You brought the red dress." I said, "Obviously," she said. I had never been the kind of woman who plans things. I'm impulsive. I lead with my feelings. I cry at commercials. My therapist? Yeah, I have a therapist. Who doesn't? My therapist had spent 2 years trying to get me to slow down before. Reacted. Well, I slowed down. I had 3 hours before the masquerade. I used them well. First, I organized everything. All the photos time-stamped. The footage from Dana's camera glasses. The audio clip from the pool bar, the best decision I've ever made. Cole's messages screenshotted and backed up. I sent it all to my email and to a folder in Google Drive that I shared with my lawyer. A woman named Patricia who I'd found by Googling family law, Raleigh, at 2 a.m. on night 1, and who had already told me over text that I had more than enough. Then I put together our wedding photo. The one from the ceremony, the professional photo that's been on our mantle for 9 years. Then the screenshot of Cole's message. Asterisk, she doesn't know either. We're good. Asterisk, then one of the photos from the terminal. Marcus and Bridget. Him with his hand on her waist, her laughing. Both of them relaxed and unbother'd.clean. Simple. 3 images. Then. I went to the DJ booth. The DJ was young, maybe younger, wearing a Hawaiian shirt and eating a bag of pretzels and looking exactly like someone who did not expect the night to go sideways. I need you to display something on the screen, I said. A slideshow. 3 images. At 9 p.m., right after the 3rd song. He looked at me. Is this like a proposal thing? I smiled. Something like that? I'll need to see the images first. Can't put up anything inappropriate. I showed him my phone. He scrolled through the 3 photos, read Cole's message. Looked up at me. He didn't say anything for a second. Then I'll play it. Thank you, I said. I left him there and went back to our cabin. Dana had laid the red dress out on the bed. She had her little makeup kit open on the desk. She looked at me when I walked in and said, "How do you feel?" Terrified, I said, "Ready?" "Good," she said. Both is right. She did my hair. She handed me the red dress. She handed me a mask, gold feathered, one of those little ones that rests on your nose. I put it on. I looked in the mirror. I had not looked like me in 3 days. I'd been hiding. Hat down, sunglasses on, deck 3, staying small. This was different. You look like someone who's about to make a very smart decision, Dana said. The main deck at 8 p.m. was transformed. String lights everywhere. A string quartet in the corner. A DJ set up near the bar. Round tables with candles. Guests in masks and formal wear. The cruise director was making rounds. Champagne everywhere. It was beautiful, honestly. Under any other circumstances, I would have loved it. I spotted Marcus within 4 minutes.